Hey guys, it's me, the gaming geezer, Frank Fry, and here we are, and it's 2015. Gee, it was 2014 just a day or so ago, but it's now January 2nd, 2015. And I thought I'd like to start the new year off in terms of my video blog with a bang. So today I'm going to be talking about sex and violence in RPGs. Wowzers, you say. I mean, I think ever since we had RPGs, whether, whatever you call them, RPGs, storyteller games, storyteller movement, which I always thought was very interesting, which we saw with the rise of White Wolf's World of Darkness, uh, as opposed to the more mechanistic types of games, of RPGs. It's always been this element, I guess you'd want to call it, at least in my experience. Sex in RPGs, sex and violence in RPGs. Wow. When I first started in this hobby in the late 70s, that was kind of, that was really almost kind of a joke, the sex part was. Uh, and then we saw, at least I did, I saw the rise in, my circles of um, the occasional sex munchkin. That's all the character wanted to do, is get laid one way or the other. I have played characters that have had significant others that have had an impact uh, on my character's life. Don't. I didn't get into that descriptive deeply. I just presumed that, and everybody else around the table just presumed, oh yeah, Frank's character's got a wife, so we assume they are having a relationship. Interesting. But you always have the people that want a little more graphic description. And uh, they want the fantasy. They want it there. Oh yeah, she's got, big boobs and a nice butt, and she's, really hot and sexy, and, really. Okay, just not my style. I developed my own style actually from the old detective noir. If you read, for example, The Maltese Falcon by Dashiell Hammett, he does what I call turning off the lights. That is, it's pretty obvious the characters are heading for the bedroom, and we simply close the bedroom door and take up the story the morning after when they're sitting there eating breakfast together or whatever. I like that approach because I think something that to me is that personal. Uh, just leave it up to the player's imagination. Now, there's also uh, you know, there's also you have the old. It's one of the oldest, I think, things I've seen in role playing, and in a way, it's funny where you have, say, the fifth level barbarian dude who's got his money, he's out drinking, he takes the comely wench to bed, they have a good time, he passes out, and she cuts his throat and steals his purse, um, which is a little extreme, although it is a good way to get rid of obnoxious players. Or basically, she steals his purse, sneaks away. The barbarian wakes up in the morning, no money, it's gone. His treasured ring of Grognar is gone, or whatever. Gone. But he's still around. This is one instance. I played any number of games where sex didn't even come up, and perhaps was the better for it. I don't know. Um, So I tend to handle mine anymore in terms of gaming and running games. Well, you have Call of Cthulhu, and which is what I really like to do. There's not much romance in that. Although Lovecraft himself had a lot of sexual themes in his writings. Uh, are you kidding me? All the stuff he does with reproduction and mingling of races, or this, that, and the other. So yeah, it's there. It's a little weird, but it's there. And excuse me. Like I said, it's a hard setting to, I think, really, unless that is one of the things you have happen. I have seen written adventures, um, modules that have had a sexual focus. There was one um, by Richard Love, interesting name, for modern day Call of Cthulhu, which dealt with essentially child prostitution, pornography, fairly hefty themes, and did it very well, I might add. It was called Love's Lonely Children or something like that. Anyway, it was very good. And you can work these themes into your settings. And if you do it right, it can provide an extra, I think, it can provide an extra level of perhaps poignancy. And it certainly, I think, is an interesting way. Let's say, said fellow barbers, let's say that our aforementioned barbarian, or fighter, let's just say he's a fighter, whatever, gets his pay, decides to have some fun, and it turns out the girl he's grabbed to go, the wench he's grabbed to clench, as it were, is all of 12 years old. Yeah. Now, the interesting thing is, given the settings, perhaps, this may not be uncommon. This may be socially acceptable. But but we can't help but react with our own modern sensibilities, which is interesting to watch. And I did it in an RPG years ago, where my character was, believe it or not, a German SS officer, the Hitler Youth Division. He also hated the Nazis with a passion and was generally a fairly decent man trapped in circumstance. Well, his men give him this French farm girl for him to enjoy for the night. And he basically told her, here, you take the bed, and this and the other, and he sleeps in the chair. The next morning, he actually gives her some information to take to the resistance. And the game master came up with something I thought was interesting when he had her say, hit me, leave some bruises, otherwise people will get suspicious. Which he reluctantly did. But sure enough, I thought that was interesting. There were no graphic depictions of sex or anything like that, but it was interesting. It was a moral choice that he made. So now we start talking about the realm of moral choices that we can have our characters make. We've talked about sex a little bit, and I mean, I'm sure that's something I'd go on for hours about, one way or the other. Probably put everybody else to sleep, but that's how it goes. And now we come to violence. We're all basically pretty much familiar with the term murder hobo. Just a gang of vagabonds wandering about the countryside, killing people and stealing their stuff. Wow. This is kind of a throwback, I think, to the War Games origins of, say, Dungeons and Dragons, because I have played Chainmail, which was the game that actually D&D grew out of. And in a war game, you're not really interested, in negotiating or anything like that. You're there to take the enemy out, sweep the enemy off the field. It's what I try to do. I'm going to win. I would like to win. I probably enjoy playing the games more than I ever like to win, and I certainly enjoy painting the figures. And winning for me is the icing on the cake. But in context of a role-playing game, that can lead to, well, hack and slash. We're going to get our XPs. Oh, look, it's that little first level, goblinoid, kobold. Oh, and I'm wasting with my crossbow. Why? He's running away. Yeah, but he's worth, 10 experience points. And I mean, not even I've seen people do this. Not even with the rationale like, oh yeah, if he gets away, he's going to warn the others. He'll warn others. Okay, I can understand that. It's sad, but hey. But there is a great deal of, let's go and slay the orcs. Why are we killing the orcs? Because they're worth XP, because they've got gold. Because really? This makes you a criminal, basically. There's nothing heroic about that. Which is my way of working to the very important, it's a very important word for both sex and violence. Context. And it is very important. Do these incidents, these scenes, do they really have any bearing on your story, on your adventure? Is it done in a context? Is the whoopee scene with the tavern wench, is this important to your story? In this case, it is, because the barbarian gets something valuable stolen from him. And now we have, to look for the tavern wench, whoever she was, because she's got this, ring or this bag of coins that has something else in it, or it's something very, it's something important that they want to get back. The same way with violence. If you are standing there, your character, with a spear and shield and helm upon your head, and etc., etc., and you're watching that horde of orcs, that whatever, gang of orcs coming for the village, it's pretty obvious they don't want to talk peace. They're out to kill. There are some beings in D&D, for example, that you pretty much know it's going to be kill on sight when you run into them. Things like gnolls. Why would you want to? It's obvious you're probably not going to be successful negotiating with a gnoll. Again, context. It's very interesting, and it's very, very, very important. Now, another C word I would like to use and bring up, and people like DBJ have talked about this, and that is consequences. Actions have consequences. My parents taught me that, especially my father, who, God rest his soul, was a police officer for 25 years, and a very good one, I might add. I'm still very proud of my dad. He's still my hero, though he's been gone, oh Lord, since 1996. He's still my hero. He always will be my hero. And that's what he taught. Actions have consequences, and so did my mother. You know, one of her favorite little Bible passages was, "As ye sow, so shall ye reap." You know, it could be a bitter harvest that you reap, but actions have consequences. And I think that's very important. That's why in my fantasy campaigns that I do run, you know, like Lord of the Rings, there's still resurrection. Once you die, you're gone. And if you lead the life of an adventurer, a warrior, a swordslinger, chances are you're not going to die of old age in bed. So you have, you know, you have the idea that once your character's dead, they're dead. That's it, finished. You know, no cleric of the great, you know, the great muffin in the sky comes up and goes, you know, woogledy boogledy, and bam, you're back to life, and there you go. It's the same thing with healing. I know that, you know, clerics pack healing spells. That's fine. They still can't bring back the dead. I mean, you could be screwed up. You could be just beat to crap and all that. And yeah, okay, you'll get some wounds healed. But you don't come back once you die. Once you walk on, cross that threshold, or rather your character, I should say, you know, let me make that plain. Walks on, that's it. You're done. Time to roll up another character. I've been through that myself. And other consequences. Let's say we have a modern day Call of Cthulhu. And the players, and I'm running it, say, as the lore master. The players go out. They finally manage to stop the cult of Yog-Sothoth, you know, one of the cults, from summoning some horrible demon by killing them all. Because, you know, they're trying to stop, you know, a cosmic monster from appearing. So they're going to blow them all up. Let's say they do. Say it's just, you know, grand old slaughter with lots of automatic weapons and et cetera, et cetera. And then they go after the couple whose bookstore deals in these occult artifacts, you know, and they're also, and they kill them. Wow. Okay. But we're the good guys. And about 4 days later, as they're sleeping quietly in their little cabin, the feds show up. They're wanted for murder, domestic terrorism. The laundry list is long, and we're not talking about a couple of, deputy dogs. We're talking about a full-scale federal anti-terrorist strike team, complete with helicopter gunship support. And they're like, oh my God, oh my God. And, you know, and the wackiest thing I heard in this scenario was, oh my God, the FBI's been infiltrated by the cult. No, they haven't. They're doing their job. But needless to say, several members of the party went down guns blazing. Good for them. Good for them. The other two actually surrendered, and, well, that's a whole nother adventure. But the idea is, what did you think? You're running around the country with automatic weapons. You have murdered 15 people. That's a hell of a body count. You know, and you don't expect law enforcement to do anything? Are you that stupid? Wow. Or naive, more like it. Yeah. We're the good guys, really? Wow. It's a good thing I know how bad the bad guys are, but still, wow. So now you have consequences. You know, for those of you like I have who have seen the wonderful Key and Peele video sketch. Key and Peele are a pair of African American comedians, and they are funny. They do a skit called Dungeons and Dragons and Bitches. See it. It's very, very funny. Where you have the dungeon master played by, I think it's Key that plays the dungeon master, and his cousin Tyrell, who is obviously, from the ghetto, is playing along with two other guys. And Tyrell, needless to say, is because he wants to play, I'm giant. My name's Kanye. Yo, big, or whatever. They do it much better. Look it up. You'll find it hilarious if you haven't seen it already. Let's see. Good old Kanye the Giant smacks the Hobbit bartender in the bar. One of the other guys decides he's going to loot the till and all of that stuff. And, for me, it's like, oh, no, you don't. Because there was a number of ways I would have done that situation differently. Of course, it wouldn't have been funny, but hell, I'm not a comedian. But the idea is actions have consequences. And probably the one action that will, at least in my games with the people I game and with the people I game with, that will get your character killed and you probably kicked out of the group is rape. And I have seen people that want to act that out. And I have also seen their other people's player characters walk up to the dude and go, "Really?" and kill him right there on the spot. Kill the character. Now, for me, I give the player a warning. We don't do that here. If they persist in acting out this kind of, sadistic fantasy, you know what? You go find yourself another game group to play with. Because we don't want your little psychopathic ass around here. And a statement. I'm not, that there are certain lines. Now, I have done adventures where, in the context of the adventure, they encounter a rape victim. They have encountered, actually rape in progress. And I'm proud of my players when I tell you that they put an end to that real quick. Up to and including administering a little street justice. And, kind of along the lines of, oh yeah, he committed suicide. He shot himself in the head 4 times. Yeah, that's my story and I'm sticking to it, that kind of thing. But, again, they run into this. They don't do it themselves, but they can run into this sort of horror. And if you have a sanity point mechanism, I dock them a sanity point or 2 just for encountering this. If you think it's appropriate. Again, context. Context. That's the most important thing when you are dealing with these issues of sex and violence in your role-playing games. Think of the context. Okay, well, this is my first one of 2015, and it's gone on a bit, but I have a good time with it, and I hope everybody does out there. I do want to wish everybody again a happy new year, and may you all have lots and lots of really good gaming. And remember, have fun, play games.